Okay, so I'm gonna try to film a quick week. Okay, so I'm gonna try to film a quick, or try to make it quick, a weekly recap of last week's training. Starting off with the Thursday session where I squatted 275 for 5, where I was aiming for 6. Again, not too disappointed in that result, still a very strong performance, and I learned from it. The double 195 from that Thursday, which is a PR double, felt very strong, gives me a lot of confidence that my bench is heading in the right direction, especially considering that things still aren't feeling crisp and perfect. That my strength is by far the best it's ever been, and if I can continue to dial in the technique and continue to peak the strength, that I should be ready for a pretty big performance for myself on bench. Then on the deadlifts, I did a 325 triple into a single very soon after. The goal was just a triple with 325. I'd hurt my hand 2 days prior to that, and I noticed it heavily that it impacted my grip on that set, so I had to reset, and it didn't feel fantastic as a result. I noticed that again in my session, the following sessions on deadlifts, that I had issues with the pain in my left hand. Hopefully that will continue to subside and allow me to continue executing well on the deadlift. I know that my deadlift strength is very high right now, but I'm noticing, because of that discomfort, just a shift of ability to perform when it comes to straps pulls versus non-strap pulls, an even bigger difference than is normal. I'm hoping to dial that into the coming weeks, and just hopefully that my hand heals. That's all I can really ask for, I guess. But yeah, it should be fine. I know that, I'm even considering doing hook grip again if necessary, which would freak me out, but we'll see. I know that I've got options. Hook grip's an option, but I prefer mixed grip right now, so we'll see if my hand will heal up going into the coming weeks. That was that Thursday session. Still a very good session. Still, I think 795 kilo total for reps, or 790, something like that. Let me look at it quick. 795 for reps, which is still strong as hell. I shouldn't curse, but yeah. So promising going into this final peak. Then the Friday session was a light squat, just 203 by 3, 154 by 10 bench, and 193 by 8 deadlift, just touch and go deadlifts. That moved well, felt easy. That's exactly what I want that day to be, and it felt good. But then that Saturday, I had to do 3 by 5 set of squats at 235 into bench, board press, and then deadlift 3 by 10 triple paused. I was aiming for 305 to 315. It chose middle ground 310. But that day I was coaching at a comp, and so I had the extra, and that was an extra stressor for the day, I would add. And so then going to that session for the squats, I was at a different gym in Groningen for that as well, of course. Going into that session for squats, squats felt fatigued even before starting, just because of that adrenaline and the stress leading into that. And so squats felt a little bit meh. I might add that on the Friday session and the Saturday session, I also did them in flats. I was trying to encourage my body to sit back. And so that might have also been, of course, an impact. There's another thing that my body is having to adjust to in that, alongside having been just at a competition. But it still went okay, but it wasn't my best thing. I think it was just that added fatigue for the week, those two sessions, being a bit different, and then the stress from the competition added fatigue to the week that carried over into my later sessions in the week, which isn't favorable, but it can happen. Life can be like that. Board press on that day, on that Saturday, went fantastic. It was a little bit of a thicker board than I had been using, but what that also meant is that I actually pushed all the way up to 210 for 2, which is 463 kilos, which is the most I've ever had in my hands. I've attempted to bench 205 twice, I think. So it's 5 kilos, 11 pounds more than I've ever had in my hands, and for 2, board press from a position a little bit off my chest, roughly like this, is where I tend to be weaker from, actually, because it's when the chest stops being engaged in the bench press, and it's pretty much just tricep. And that also shows me how much, in all honesty, how much not different my board press from that distance is to what I believe I could press from my chest. It is something that indicates to me that more board pressing work will have significant carryover, and more tricep specific work. So that's something I'm thinking into in the coming weeks and also after this prep. But of course I need to focus on Europeans first in 3 weeks. Then the deadlift 3x10 at 310 triple paused. That moved easy. That's never going to be something that feels tremendously difficult. I'm hoping to push that higher in the coming weeks and ramp it up with the rest of my trainings. Whereas a lot of the other days I keep frozen at weights, I'm hoping to push that up. That was that Saturday. Then on the Sunday, it was just a quick and easy 3x5 at 210 kilos in squats, no issues. The bench press was a top set of 4 with 175 and then 3x4 at 170. I went through that, no issues. I'm thinking of, depending on how I feel on this Sunday, pushing that higher. We'll see. Like a little bit. I'm even thinking of like just pushing it to like 176 and 171, like just a kilo, just to keep it progressing a little bit. And then the deadlift that day was 4x3 290, which honestly felt fantastic. I went through that. It felt easy, felt light. Went through it, no issues. I was in a good rhythm that day. I felt strong on deadlifts. Then that was that Sunday. Monday was on squats. This is where a little bit where I saw the fatigue build up from the Saturday session follow me through to the Monday, where I ended up doing a 6x3 at 255 paused, that I wasn't particularly satisfied with after the fact. Just I had to push. I wasn't able to get quite in my zone, and I felt like it wasn't as powerful as I would have liked to feel during that session. And I did 6 sets instead of maybe stopping at 4, which would have been smart. I think I over-fatigued myself for the rest of the week based on that. And so that's not the best. I think going into the Monday session next week, I'm going to try my best to limit myself, if it's not feeling fantastic, to only 4 sets. I feel like sometimes I feel the pressure myself to try to force more sets, but if it's just not there, I need to just chill out. Remember that pushing it too hard right now is not going to bring out a bigger performance in the long run. That next week, just chill out. The following, maybe push hard. That's also right before I pull back really hard, the taper week before the competition. So just pacing it, just pacing fatigue, managing fatigue. But lessons learned. You've got to train hard to get stronger. So sometimes weird little things like that happen. Still not a bad session, but I wasn't just where I needed to be with it from the fatigue, I think, from the Saturday, from the stressful weekend. And just then I pushed it to a little bit weird. I don't even want to say hard, but I just wasn't in the right headspace for that session. And so I wasn't able to execute to make it easier. And so that's something I need to learn from moving forward. Still a strong performance, but I overanalyze everything, of course. Then on the Monday bench, that was a 180 to 190 single. Those moved very easy. And I had called in my girlfriend for the commands, which was honestly a very fun addition to that. And not only was it fun, it was also a good way to make sure that the commands were good. A tendency I noticed, and I think I talked about that in the Monday video, I notice for people doing heavy lifts in gyms, people tend to cater the command giving based on the level of difficulty the lift is for the individual. That if they know their friend is going for a PR single, they'll give quicker start commands, give quicker press commands, and give quicker rack commands, and that just gives such a significant advantage to the lift going well or the lift being completed, based on in comparison to what you would get in a competition. And if you have just a video call for the bar, where the person can't see the weight, they're just going to give consistent commands based on what they visually see with the bar, the performance of the bar, where the position and the movement of the bar. And that's honestly, it's something I didn't even think about before that session, but I kind of like it, and I'm thinking about how I can implement that in the future. Then the deadlifts on that Monday were 3x5 at 230, easy, simple, blasted through it. Then Tuesday, squat was 3x6 at 210. Felt very fatigued from the other sessions, so I definitely felt that fatigue carry over from the Monday, from the Saturday, which is supposed to be a week 1 easy, and it still was very easy, very simple, but my body just wasn't clicking. Like sometimes there should be weights on that Tuesday that just feel explosive, feel easy, and they felt easy, but my body wasn't firing the way I needed to. So it was like lesson learned from those other sessions and move forward. Then that bench on Tuesday was 4x8 at 160. That was the first time doing 4x8 at 160. I'd done 4x7, and normally speaking, I would do 4x6 or 6x6 on that session. And so 4x8 executed it, and it moved pretty well. The last set, I definitely felt the extra reps, felt the extra fatigue, but it still got it done well. Then the deadlift was an easy 3x3 at 250. And there's not a whole lot that can be said for that. I just blasted through it. And I'm looking forward to next week's training.